right, y'all. I got fired today. I got fired from a job that I hate. So let's talk about it. So, first of all, guys, just to give you a little bit of background, I've been doing this kind of work for over 5, maybe 6 years now. And I'll do my best to make it quick, do a little bit of an overview of all the things. Just a quick synopsis, right? Whatever. When I had just graduated high school, right? I got into the automotive industry. So I was selling cars prior to getting into the insurance business. I stayed in the car business for like maybe 3-4 years. And then I got into the insurance field. Now, mind you, before COVID-19 hit, I was heavy into insurance. I did the whole nine. I did the door knocking, I did the cold calling, sitting down every day, making over 60, 50 different phone calls every day, keeping track of them. It was exhausting, but it was bringing me income and supporting my lifestyle. So, needless to say, I kept doing it and I did it for a while. Now, when COVID-19 hit, I went from selling insurance outside, doing the door knocking thing, to now being able to work from home. And since COVID-19, I have been doing remote work ever since. So it's going on 5, maybe 6 years now of me being in the same position, doing the same things, saying the same script, doing the same thing over and over and over again. And I hated it. I loathed it. And if anybody knows their vocabulary words, loathed is deeper than hate. I hated it. So it was bad. It's bad. So I believe this is a manifestation of the closing out of a cycle, but I got fired. I got fired, and I just want to walk you guys through like my thought process, I guess. I have no freaking idea where my thoughts are right now. It just feels so like, you know, I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to put my thoughts into words, so I'm gonna vent and just give it to you guys. Listen, I've been on this self-healing, self-journey, road to self-discovery for a while. And if any of you guys have been following me for a while, then you already know, you're familiar with my content. But I feel like I got lost somewhere at some point during this whole thing, you know? And I feel that way because, for those of you that don't know, I just changed states. I left my hometown. So this is gonna be catching up, really, with you guys, with everything that's been going on. But I'll do my best to try to summarize it. I changed states, I moved towns. And for the most part, it was something that started off as just a feeling, you know, of dissatisfaction. When I started realizing that my career path that I wanted, the lifestyle I was leading, what I was doing for work, how my day-to-day, it just all felt so off balance. And I started feeling this deep desire to want to change. Not just my internal world, but my external. And that was the first time I started feeling very heavily that I wanted to leave my hometown because it felt so restricting. It felt like I couldn't grow. Mind you, I really do feel like this desire pulling me towards a different direction had to have came from God, because specifically I felt drawn to Texas, Houston, Texas. Don't know why. Don't really have any real family out there, but I felt very drawn to go there, which for some reason seems to be the case for a lot of people who move to the state. Doesn't matter. We'll talk about that. All I'm saying is I didn't know how to get there. I just had the desire to want to leave. I had no idea how I was going to get there because 1, I don't have the money. 2, I don't have the funds, which is money. 3, I don't have the resources. 4, I didn't know how I was going to be able to change states and just up and pack up and leave, or if I was ready to go out into this world on my own and and make that much of a shift or a change. So here's how God works. I told him no. But God never really gives up on a plan that he has for you. He just modifies it. So coincidentally, I ended up having to move back in with my mom. After a series of unfortunate events, I ended up having to move back in with my mom, and she goes, hey, when your sister graduates high school, we're gonna leave. And I'm thinking in my mind, okay, well, where are we going, right? I'm thinking maybe up the street. No, she says Houston, Texas. And it's funny, right? Because with God, he never changes the plan. He just modifies it, like I said. So he took the desire not out of not just my mind. He gave the desire to my mom, and then he gave it to my sister, and then he gave it to my aunt, and then he gave it to my cousin. It became a chain of events that ultimately got me to a place of surrender, to where, okay, now, yeah, we're going to Houston. I didn't think my mom was serious at first, if I'm honest with you, because if I'm being honest, none of us really had the funds or the know-how on how to get here. Still, it was a tough decision. So time goes by, and my mom actually starts saying, she's serious. She's packing up the whole house, right? But we still don't really have a clear destination on where we're going in Houston, because we don't have any approval on a home. We have no idea where we're headed to, and we don't have any real family out here. So we don't have no sense of security or stability. So if we left, we would be taking a leap of faith into something that we had no idea what the landing was going to look like. But how my mom works is she has the mentality of where when she wants to do something in her mind, it's already done, and it's either you're going to get on board or you're not, right? And I clearly didn't have a choice. I moved back in with her. So we all packed up our lives in a coupe and literally drove out to Houston, Texas. I am not joking. Like, it was me, my sisters, and my two dogs, and we packed up and we left to Houston, right? Mind you, I was still working from home, so I was able to take this job with me. But we literally went on this journey of just driving. And when we finally got to Houston, Texas, we thought that we had an approval for an apartment that we didn't actually get approval for. Surprise, surprise. So of course we got an Airbnb, but money was still short. We had to figure out what we were gonna do to stay about our stability, right? So needless to say, I ended up finding another Airbnb we could negotiate a long-term contract with. And during that phase, we started settling into Houston, right? We started learning about the culture, becoming more, and meeting different and new people, right? And it was very cool how all of it ended up panning out. But essentially, for me personally, I didn't have any real reason to leave. I worked from home, right? So I didn't have a reason to go out and meet new people. So my version of meeting people was limited to the people I met at the apartment that we stayed in. That's how I ended up coming across some really cool friends, right? I ended up meeting a really dope artist, and he showed me around town, which was extremely cool. Later on, I ended up meeting another artist. He was a rapper, and they just showed me different parts of the city that I wasn't able to explore on my own, and it was extremely dope. I ended up falling in love with the culture in Houston. But just follow me on this journey, guys. I'm kind of trying to wrap this up as best I can, but it's all tying together in terms of why I ended up coming to the conclusion that I hated my job, right? Because mind you, I was just doing what works. When I got into the customer service industry, sales altogether, I did it because it was something that was convenient and it was something that was paying me money. And at one point, I thought it was something that I could move up in. You know, you guys know how it works. You get into a rhythm, a comfort zone, and then you start trying to build things there. You start trying to work up the ladder. But if I'm honest with you, I was never happy. I was never satisfied. Nothing would have made me satisfied in this industry or this field because I didn't really feel connected to it. There was a part of me that still felt so discontent. So, mind you, while all of this is going on, outside of me, a lot of things are moving around and changing. Like I mentioned, I came across a lot of people who were artists, right? And being around that culture of just seeing them create started to remind me of the joy that I actually have when I am creating. For example, like, I came across an artist who painted, and he was in a transition phase in his life where he was working as a full-time nurse, but wanting to transition out of that into becoming a full-time artist. So he just worked as an artist on the side, but he started to take himself really seriously as an artist. And he was in a transition phase where he was about to invest in himself full-time. And I say these things, I say these stories because everything ties together. The people that you meet, it isn't coincidental. And I, for some reason, kept being drawn to artists while I'm in the field that I'm in of customer service. So little by little, the more that I was exposed to the culture of artists, to the culture of just creating in a different way, creating streams of income in a different way, it reminded me more and more how unhappy I was in the industry that I'm in. Because I was going out into the world, experiencing all these new and beautiful things, and then coming back home to a reality that felt so small, right? So me losing this job is honestly, it's a long time coming, because I realized that I wouldn't have left. I don't think I would have ever left unless it was something that was taken away from me. I got comfortable. So it kind of robbed me of an opportunity to keep avoiding myself. I kept asking a very big and important question that I feel like most of us at some point in our lives ask ourselves, which is, who am I and what is it that really resonates with me? What do I want? Because what I realized coming to Houston, Texas, is that there are so many different ways to make money in this life. There's so many different, in Houston, Texas, it's the culture, the land of the free. I feel, in my opinion, it's the land of the entrepreneurs. I kept coming across all these beautiful people who had taken their craft to the next level. They make several different streams of income. They're investing in their talents, investing in their music, investing in their art. And I don't know why, but for some reason, it felt like for me, reaching for those goals or actually achieving the level of success that I want through that creative pursuit just felt so unattainable. It felt so far-fetched. But coming across all these people who did it like it was just nothing, it challenged my perspective. It forced me to look at myself and ask myself the question, like, is it far-fetched to actually go after your goals and achieve them? Or is it your mentality? Do you just not believe it's possible for you? And I guess I'm just creating this video because I'm realizing, like, there is a connection. There's a mentality that connects you to your past and your upbringing, and your ability to make action, and your ability to go after things, your ability to believe you can do what it is that you want to do, that I'm starting to realize that I have. And I feel like there's this level of unattainability, this sense of worthiness, this sense of self that is not just within me, but within the culture and the environment that I was raised in, that makes going after what I want seem unattainable. And it's no excuse. I'm not saying this to bash anybody. I'm saying this because for a really long time, what I was exposed to was suffering and struggle. every time I was attempted to go after what I believe my goals were, or attempted to go after entrepreneurship, I had seen so many times in my family and the people surrounding me that I had seen it fail, and I had seen struggle so much in my life that I didn't know, I didn't feel like it was actually possible for me. I knew that it was available, but to actually go after that form of success seemed so far-fetched. It's funny how God will continue to expose you to people and their stories and what they're going through, and he does that not to torture you, but he does that because he's given you an opportunity to show you that it's possible. And if you aren't in a place to receive, if you aren't in a place to really be with yourself long enough to appreciate the stories that you've been exposed to, that opportunity to be inspired can turn into envy or jealousy. You won't be able to see yourself or others properly. And I think I got in a little bit of a rut. Because see, what people also don't understand about being inspired by something is that you can only look at your inspiration for so long. You have to come to a place in your life where you now take that inspiration and utilize it, transmute that into action. And I guess I got kind of stuck in a position of just looking at other people do and go after the things that they want, that I stopped believing in me. I stopped taking the time out to actually put forth the steps to create it. And I felt stuck. I felt like it wasn't possible. And every time that I started to do something, I stopped. So I got caught up in a cycle that felt like it was not going to end. And this cycle consisted of lack, and it consisted of insecurities. It consisted of a limited vision of what I believe can happen in and through my life. And everything that I chose was a reflection of that. My relationships, my career, should I say these jobs? It was not a career. There's a difference between a career and a job. And everything was a reflection of that lack mentality that was so deeply embedded into me. So, I hate to say it, but it's strange how I feel right now. It's strange. I can't fully sit up here and tell you me getting fired feels devastating. I could just be going numb right now, but if I'm honest with you, it feels like a silence, like a switch just went off. Like everything in my mind and everything in my heart and my body just kind of went silent. And everything feels very still for the first time in a really long time. And it feels like I finally get an opportunity to just think and reflect on everything. And I mean everything. And one thing that I realized is that this job was keeping me in a cycle and in a loop because it was still a reflection of something that I didn't even want anymore. I didn't even want this job. I was doing it because I felt like I have to do it. It doesn't even resonate with who I am anymore. I hated this job. I hated it, but I kept doing it. Why? I'm not happy. It's paying me well, but I'm not happy. And at some point, I just feel like my peace is more important than money. So now I'm faced with an opportunity to really sit with myself and make a reflection on what my next moves are going to be, who I'm going to be. Because you got to think about it. I have every opportunity to just continue on the cycle. I can just get another job. I can just get the same job again, stay in this position. I can continue on this cycle, or I can stop. That's where I am right now. I'm faced with the decision to either go back or change. And I'm not necessarily sure which path to take. But this stillness that I have within me tells me a lot. The fact that I'm even having this conversation with you all right now says a lot about where I am. Because I could always just go back. That's usually what I do. I just go back. But it just speaks to the amount of growth that has happened within me. This opportunity right now gives me just that, an opportunity to slow down long enough to just be able to reflect on what I want to do next, who I want to be, who I want to become from this point. And the funny part about getting fired, even though it's a job that I hated, I don't think I would have ever left unless I did. And I don't know what's gonna happen next on this path. I really don't. But I do know that nothing happens for no reason. You always have an opportunity to, everything that happens, everyone you meet, everything. It's for a reason. And this is my opportunity to figure out what that's for. And if you've been following me on my journey, and if my story resonates with you, or you just got fired, or you quit your job, I want you guys to follow me on this path. It's a up and down, but it's a journey back home to myself. And I'm gonna make a promise to myself to see this all the way through, regardless of what's on the other side. And I'm gonna take this time intentionally to sit with myself so that my next move isn't a reflection of what I lack or what I believe I can't have. But it'll be a reflection of everything. All the love that I've accumulated within myself. It isn't just pain that I've gone through. I've been through pain, but it's not just pain. I also have love. I have lessons, I have growth. I have things that have occurred within me that actually is a reflection of my healing. And I've encountered some beautiful people along the way. They showed up a lot of mirrors. They reflected back to me a lot of things about myself that I admire. And I think this time around, instead of just being inspired, I'm gonna actually transmute that into action. We'll see. It's a process. So, follow me on this journey, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And let's start this healing process together. Lord have mercy, y'all. Bless you.